Hello, it's Anya. Welcome to the channel. In this episode, we're calling each other KVK. We'll take a look at the rankings. Sure, these rankings won't reflect what the game actually looked like on our KVK. You know, it's practically 2 days after the recap. We're already 2 days after the recap. So many people have migrated in different directions. We also have a few new faces in our ranks, so we'll see how they show up. Yes, in the next KVK. Our current power is 14.9 billion. A few people are still migrating from here, so I think our power will hover around 14.5 billion. We'll see. That's what we're aiming for here. So, comparing it to the start of the previous KVK, the KVK we're playing now, our power will be almost identical to what we had when we started this KVK, so we'll see. Yes, the changes are theoretically positive, but of course, the war will verify that. The next KVK will verify all this, and let's take a quick look at the various rankings, shall we? While they're still there, let's take a look at these rankings, maybe check their maximum power. Yes, remember that many people aren't yet healed, so their power may vary. However, with 120 million power when I'm fully healthy, I was also somewhere around 500 plus and 500 plus positions. So, in this KVK, even though the realms are theoretically small, those 4-tier champions were really few. Overall, those 4-tier champions were probably mostly in our VP. That's how it looks. Let's take a look at the merit rankings. Currently, the number 1 champion in this KVK, Wowrose, has already migrated. Fortunately, I have a screenshot from before the migration, so you can see that Wowrose was practically where he could have been, number 1 there. So total dominance for this KVK. 140 million, only 100 million more than me, so he's been struggling a bit. But getting back to the current ranking, well, a few people have definitely migrated, either from this KVK or to this KVK, so it may be different than it was at the end, before the summary. But this is what the top 10 players look like. Yes, the top 10 player currently has 71 million merits, so really good results. As for the kingdom's power, a lot has changed there too. Unfortunately, some kingdoms have lost a lot of players. However, some kingdoms have had a lot of new players join. Among them, a few people have joined us. Neverfall Warriors definitely had a very large migration. I think they gained about 5 billion power, so they've had quite a large migration. Freaks United seems to have similar power to what they started with, so probably no major changes here. FG Family probably also has similar power to what they started with. Wolves probably have something similar. It's hard to say. Yes, I don't remember what it looked like with Wolves. Golden Exile probably lost a little, but not much, I think. K211 Nexus probably lost a small amount of power, or they're not healed yet, so not much has changed there either. Kin definitely lost a significant amount of power, as they had around 13, maybe even 14, so a few players left there. Open Bar, our number 1 allies. I think they're unchanged. Degerit's 9 billion power. They just cut off a few players, so their power dropped as well. NXG also lost a few players. And Fate also lost a few players. So, in general, many kingdoms lost a lot of players, and in fact, 2 kingdoms gained new players, VP2 and Neverfall Warriors. I think Neverfall Warriors gained a lot of players from that KVK, but I'm not sure. The credit for that KVK won't reflect what it looked like before the migration either. However, that's how it looks now. Yes, as I said, NWI had a really strong migration. And you can see it in the merits here too, so the merits were really close. Unless they really fought a lot, but I don't think there was that much merit here. I think the ranking looked something like this. FG family also had a lot of fights, open bar a lot of fights. Wolves also fought a lot, we also had some fights there. Generally, I'd say that many kingdoms really fought a lot, and honestly, I'd even say there weren't any really weak alliances. I think most alliances here were really on the map that currently looks like this. In fact, most alliances were quite close to each other. It was possible to fight. Maybe this camp with NXG and FU was a bit weaker compared to the others, but I'd say the rest of KVK was really close to each other. And there weren't many T4 players here, which some might have criticized. So we're not fighting against weak players. It's more like KVK, these alliances here have few players, a small number of players, but those players are really, really strong. So that's more or less how it looked. Let's take a quick look at the WP2 rankings. We've also had a migration here, so these rankings may not be 100% accurate, but let's take a look. Yes, remember that Wowrose was also here, and he probably ranked highest everywhere in every achievement, but we'll see how it looks now. As usual, we'll look at the top 10 players. And currently, in VP, the situation looks like this. Arabe 42 million achievements. Witch 40, Angel 40, Francie Luca 29, Coods, I don't know how to read that nickname, but whatever. Coods 28.5 million, Blind 28.5 million. Draco returned to us 28 million. Gabriel joined us with 24 million, Wids practically 24 million, Bastet 23 million, and we'll stop at the top 10. However, a lot of people really did fight here. As for infantry merits, yes, we'll look at infantry merits. What are the tanks like here? Areta, a new addition, 21 million. Zaborg, a new, old addition, 17 million. Baki, 16 million. Roasinkov 16 million, Kermit 15 million, Poshchak 15 million, Dexus 13 million, Mord Dragon 13 million, Cuds almost 13 million, and Tony also almost 13 million. As for cavalry merits, well, there's only one leader, right? There's only one leader right now. I've been fighting a lot with cavalry here, I won't lie. It's fun to play with it on a KVK like this, where you can play with it, so I'll definitely be playing with cavalry more and more when I have the opportunity. But number 1 Angel 24 million almost merits with cavalry, Francie Luca 12 million Lamagna new acquisition 12 million Ors almost 12 million Bonnie almost 11 million TSA GI 10 million Queens 9.5 million. Osa 7.5 million, Wall new acquisition 7 million, and Draco old new acquisition 5 million. Well, when it comes to archers, I'm number uno here too. 14 million merits on these ungrateful archers. Number 2 Mars, a very excellent result 12 almost 13 million. Adrianus WCO 8 million 808 million 8.5 million. Ladybo the Blind almost 8 million. Hengiadon 7.6 million. Desti 7,600,000. Magistralis 7,310,000 RTM 7,300,000. Let's also look at these mages. Yes, let's look at these mages. I have a whole 20,000 merits. They accidentally killed me, right? They accidentally killed my mages on the battlefield while they were building, so we have those merits. Yes. Number 1 Arabe almost 30 million. Witch 28.6 million merits. Master 1618.5 million. DRCK 18 million. Majorca 16.5 million. Malise 16.5 million. Aggie 15 mil 700. Sishu 15 mil. Tobin 14.4 million, and number 10 ASU 14.1 million merits. The other merits are probably only from burning, so if someone burned us and we accepted such a rally, then we have merits, because I don't think bastions count here. Yes, I don't think bastions count here, although I'm not sure where those other merits come from. There are definitely burns. The Sharingan used to accept triple rallies there, even with a garrison. I think it was with Gromera, if I'm not mistaken. Those three really had very positive results, but that's how it goes. If someone has merits here, they probably took a beating. Yes, some rally. It looks like those merits are also from gathering units. Well, they definitely killed a few donkeys. I won't deny that I lost a few donkeys on the battlefield. They were hunting donkeys, so we also healed the donkeys a bit. Burning definitely comes into play here. Yes, I'm convinced that burning comes into play here. Supposedly, there should be merits for some buffs, but when it comes to buffs and seasonal talents, I should definitely have more of those merits. Yes. It's hard to say what could have counted here. I see we have 3% more revived here, so that's definitely a good thing. We'll definitely need it. And I'll show you the map, what it looked like, and how the KVK actually played out. Before we move on to the map, I'll remind you that there were 6 camps here, and the average power per camp was 26-27 billion. So, in terms of power, these camps were really very close in terms of power. So, with that out of the way, let's move on to the maps. Yes, let's move on to the maps. This map is a snippet from the stream, so unfortunately, we don't have a better one. You know, KVK is over, so we can't move, nor can we see what the map looked like that day, so we'll use this screenshot snippet. We were, of course, yellow on this map. As you can see, maybe I'll mark the dragon zone for you to make it very visible. This is the dragon zone, right? We'll also mark the gates in blue. 1 gate, the 2nd gate, the 3rd gate, the 4th gate, the 5th gate, the 6th gate. There were 6 entrances to the dragon zone on this map. There were also 6 camps. Remember, we were still one against the other at this point. We're all fighting against everyone we meet. So what was it like after the 3rd zones opened? Yes, the level 5 gates had already opened here, so we could invade 3rd zones next to our zones. Our 3rd zone was here. And in this zone, we didn't have any fighting at all, so we went looking for more fighting. Yes, our first goal, as you can see, is where we're invading Necrowolves and NWE. And of course, as you saw on the streams, we managed to conquer this zone here as well, so these gates and everything on this side were also under our control. This gate was also under our control, because it's the 3rd zone belonging to us. This gate was also ours. And even here, when the level 6 gates opened, we even went through this gate and stopped somewhere. Here. So it was still a long way to the gates here, because there was probably a river or mountains here, so we'd have to go around it. However, you know, having 4 gates, going solo, was still too much in my opinion. Yes, but it was definitely very tactically beneficial for us. This gate was definitely good for us because the enemy could only come from 2 gates. And there were 2 camps, because it was a 3 versus 2 versus 1 fight. 1 camp left through this gate when the dragon zone opened. 1 camp left through this gate, the other enemy camp left through this gate. And the enemy started fighting among themselves at that point. While those gates opened, we were building, I think it was even the gate to the dragon. VP2 was building this way to the dragon. They finally got there. I know VP2 definitely went through this way, and VP22 went through one of those 2 gates. And after the dragon zone opened up and the fight on the spire, where the 2 opposing sides fought, an agreement was reached. And so, those 3 teams, right? K211, Gex, and Fu also reached an agreement with DN and FG. And then it all came together. If there had been more rewards to be divided, they probably would have wanted the wolves as well. However, fortunately for us, and fortunately for the wolves, I think the game played out as 2 versus 4. Later, we fought 2 versus 4. The teams even swapped colors, so everything was very clear and clearly visible. We were, of course, yellow. There was one front on the spire. There was a second defense on the gate. There was a third defense on the bridge. The fourth defense was on this spire here. And then there was our camp, VP22, and the OPB. We defended these 4 entrances, along with our new ally who joined us, the wolves, who are colored green here, and the NW. At first, they defended on this spire, but gradually the enemy pressed them here, so they moved their defenses behind this spire. And the enemy couldn't breach the defenses on this spire either. So, in the end, our territory, you could say, looked like this: our territory and our allies. Green, on the other hand, meant the enemy was everywhere. Here was K211 and GEKS. Here was K211 and Gex on this side as well. Then, of course, they moved on this side. Fu and NXG were coming from this side. On this spire, we fought DJ and FG, and on this side, DJ, FG, and K211 were also there. And on this side, K211 and Fade were also coming from this side. We were a little worried that there would be 4 alliances pressing on these spires: Fate, K211, FO, and NXG. But here you can see this yellow area. Yes, here we had a bastion on the other side of the river, which completely disabled NXG's ability to build, so ultimately only 3 alliances could come here, not 4. And NXG tried to move along this side, attack from this side of the Jelitsa River, but there was really not much time left until the end of the KVK. And by the time they got here, by the time they built up, everything was basically wiped out. You can see what the fights look like on the streams. So our main defense here was against Degen. Of course, we were still fighting on that side, blocking the Gex and the Kin. Here, the OPB was blocking, as I said. Here you had the bastion I mentioned. We were cutting off FXG, which is basically NXG. Our ally NW and Wolf, who had already built their defenses behind the spire. Here you can see, we're witnessing the enemy slowly approaching the next spire to attack from another front. And there was another front in the corner. So, in a nutshell, that's what it all looked like. Of course, there was also a stream from Zone 2. If anyone's interested and didn't see the fights, you can watch it. It was also interesting here, although quite short, but really short but intense. And as for the prizes themselves, the prize distribution, VP22 and OPB took home a dragon. I got a star. In the end, NWI got a frame and an elite dragon. They also had a necro. And K211 was left with nothing, I think. K211 and Fade were left with nothing. Gex and Kin had a necro, and I don't know if Fu was left with nothing either. DJ and FG also had a necro. So, to sum up, KVK was really interesting in my opinion. A lot of people fought, and practically all alliances had an equal chance of winning. So that's the story of WP22 in this KVK. I don't think I've forgotten anything. It went from 3 versus 2 versus 1 to 4 versus 2. And as it turned out, good one this time. Well, that's all for this episode. I'll be saying goodbye to you here. You know what to do. Take care. LO.